It is, you go to websites and it says accept all cookies.
Yeah.
Right. And this article was just about that. What are you signing up for when you say accept all cookies? And one of the most interesting phrases it was written in so if you try to read the entire thing, the terms and policies, it's so intricate you're never going to get it. It's just that dense language. But one of the points in there is we, the company, determine what is essential information for us, and that is the information we're gonna keep.
Yeah.
That is so vague language. That's such vague language. They say that we determine which is key information that we want to take from your experience at this website.
Yeah. And
then what happens is there are 296 other websites. And I'm just talking about the Reuters website.
Yeah.
The news. And they have, when you say accept all cookies, they have 296 other websites that they're going to give this data to. And those 296 websites include Google, Twitter, Facebook, and many, many other, Salesforce, Adobe, all these different cloud services. And they're going to analyze your data. They're going to make models of your data. And essentially, they're going to make a model of you that knows you better than you do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about it. Like, have you heard of the web browser DuckDuckGo?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I've started using that recently. I still use Chrome on my computers just because it makes it easier to do college work. But like whenever I'm on my phone, I use DuckDuckGo, and it will tell you what cookies were that Google and Twitter and Facebook and all these other websites were trying to take when you go to a website. Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, nothing's free, right? Like we acknowledge. I think there's a really big irony to the Western world and how we sort of acknowledge these things. Like, especially in America, we're a big country that's all you have to work for everything you get. Nothing comes free. And then it's like, well, y'all think the internet's free? Like the internet's not free either. Like, no, you pay with yourself. Like you are the currency online.
Exactly. I don't think you could have put it any better. Exactly.
Yeah, so no, it's fascinating stuff. I hope somebody's gonna look at that and freak out and go, oh no. No, I'm joking. Don't freak out. But okay, I'm gonna get back to sort of talking about sort of the healthcare and AI sector again. I can't remember. There's a topic we brought up last time.
I think it was the usage of AI for social good.
Yes, that exactly. The usage of AI for social good. What made me really excited was with you specifically, was like how your passion with it isn't necessarily for monetary gain, but to do something better for the world. Exactly,
yeah. So AI, as we know it right now, you see it very transactionally. You see it on Amazon, you see it on Google. It will tell you buy this, and Google it will tell you search this. If you searched on Facebook, it will tell you suggestions of events. And it is that. It is very private. It's very to you, transactional, small actions. But when you think about AI, it's such a powerful technology that there's this whole research area called AI for social good. And big corporations like Google are diving into that to tackle the big problems using artificial intelligence. That includes healthcare problems, maternity problems, wildlife problems, flooding, healthcare in homeless people. All these different challenges can be solved through the power of AI. And that is AI for social good.
Yeah. So, I want to sort of ask about like COVID. What do you think the influences of AI will be in an age where I feel like COVID's not going to be the last pandemic we're going to get, right? They're going to be more. And considering the way the world sort of reacted to this one, right? I feel like the next ones, if the virus is worse, are just going to be any worse. So what role sort of do you think artificial intelligence could play in that, if any?
Right. So I don't think artificial intelligence is going to go away from our daily lives.
Yeah.
But one thing I do know is if we have another pandemic, it's going to bring another revolution in terms of computing. What happened this time was, if you just look at the companies that started up and the startups that started up during COVID, you see a trend in them. They started regarding finance, fintech, finance technology, because nobody was going to shops. You were ordering things online. You were paying things online. You were paying your rent, your services, all of this online stuff. And
Right.
to make that easy for people, a lot of fintech startups popped up, not just in the US, in emerging markets. The other thing that you saw was education technology that popped off. Not just Zoom. There's so many other platforms that have popped off, which are basically making teaching easy, making STEM education easy, making experiments done in lab. They're virtualizing that. Simulations for physics experiments a lot better than you had before. So all of those concepts start coming off when you have a pandemic, and there are limitations put on you. And I think there's also this quote, which is Pablo Picasso maybe, which is you're the most creative when you have limitations or restrictions on you.
Right.
It's just that, and I think combined with technology and artificial intelligence, the power of that, you get a whole new variety of concepts that might come off.
Right. I noticed, yeah, especially with COVID, like e-commerce and that sort of sector has boomed tremendously. What I find interesting about that one is like, there's a lot of, okay, so a family that I know, they decided to start a side hustle where they sold masks and other sort of products like that, via websites like Shopify and on Amazon, and just do person to person sort of advertising so people could hear about them that way. But there is a huge sort of there's a hard barrier to entry for a lot of people. They get fired from their jobs, and then moving into the e-commerce sector because of huge competitors like Amazon. Right, you can't really compete with Amazon at all. So and there's a concern, at least I have one, with the world digitizing more and more, unless you work for one of these major companies that has the means to sort of get to everyone, right? Like how are you going to survive in this new technological service-based world,
Right. So it's interesting you brought that up. I was in this conference, a Harvard Project for Asian International Relations, and I got to hear the managing director of McKinsey, Kevin Sneeder, and he was talking, he had the same question, and he talked about how it was more contextual to India and emerging markets, so I'll answer what he said. He basically said that whenever there's a new technology, it's always going to create more jobs than the jobs that are lost. There are always going to be more job creation than the jobs that are lost.
Okay.
It's interesting is that transition from one sector to the other because of technology has been drastically reduced due to this pandemic. Because of the pandemic, that transition has been halted, and a lot of people have just become unemployed.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest effects of this pandemic, if you see it in terms of the technological transition that we're talking about. So that is a very interesting thing, that there is going to be this transition, but when you have these external barriers like a pandemic, it's just halted.
Yeah.
I think in the long term, it's always going to be more jobs created in different ways. I think people always adapt to the circumstances they're provided.
Right. So yeah, like, I don't know, you just brought up emerging markets. What have things been like technologically? I'm very aware you know more about this than I do, in sort of these developing countries.
Right. So in terms of artificial intelligence, and I'll keep it to social good. So in India, there's this project that started called Arman.
Yeah.
And what Arman is basically doing is, from the point of your pregnancy to the point of the child is born and is 1 year old, through artificial intelligence and through human customized care, you're going to get notifications regarding how to best care for your child, unborn or born child. It will tell you you're 8 weeks old. This is what you need to do. This is the diet you should have right now. This is the care that you should do. Your kid is now 2 weeks old. Give him this nutrition. Give him this to eat. He is 1 year old now. And they're doing this to the power of technology. They're going to rural women. And in rural India, the access you have is just cellular. You do not have internet. And so taking this technology and deploying it on the cellular network is reducing mortality rate, it is increasing the health of the childbearing women. And so that is one of the greatest things. There's this other example in Rwanda, and there's a startup which is basically assisting radiologists and making the radiology technology more accessible to the people. So in Rwanda, I don't quote me on this, but I think there's one radiologist for 10,000 people, or maybe more, 100,000. And so there's this big gap in accessibility to this technology. And what they're doing is artificial, and you take a X-ray or an MRI scan, and the computer programs running on artificial intelligence would all automatically diagnose you with the disease that you have on your health checks, on everything. So the lack of doctors is now just overseeing that software is working fine. That is all they're doing. And that has connected so many people to this such important resource, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Exactly. And I think there was another project which is happening in Malaysia, which is basically working at rainforests to reduce poaching. And what artificial intelligence is doing is it is telling these the people that are patrolling which routes to patrol. Just because through history, the model recognizes that if you travel this route at 8, 9, 10 p.m., that is the most likely time that poachers are going to be coming over here. Right. And you have these very intricate models, and they're so accurate. I think the reduction in poaching in Malaysia was like 50% or more, just because of this technology. It's predicting travel this route this time. And when you think about the sectors that's disrupting, it is just incredible to think of.
Yeah, that's the power of like what these computers can do it's awesome, and like it's terrifying at the same time, but it's really awesome to see like the sort of things that are happening in these countries, especially with the baby monitoring. I watch a lot of, which I know I may have discussed this before, but I watch a lot of Black Mirror, which if you have not seen Black Mirror, I am recommending it to everyone. Where they have tech that allows you to monitor people wherever they are, keep track of your health, like that, just the sort of technology that you see in Black Mirror. Black Mirror, the first season came out in 2011, right? And now here we are a decade later, and like it's actually happening. And so on one hand, it's like, wow, look how far we're making it, and then on another hand, it's like, wow, look how far we're making it.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing I wish it's it's interesting about all of these technological advances, especially when it comes to healthcare. It's like these are great, but I always think about infrastructure. If we make all these technological advances and these sort of like quality of life things, but it's still hard, especially in more rural third world areas of the world, where it's like it's still hard for people to move around. There's a lot of countries in Africa. I did a project where I was our school was helping to map out an area. They have this website where you can help draw maps to help girls suffering from genital mutilation to sort of find care shelters. I can't remember where it was. Was it the Congo? It may have been the Congo. I can't remember. But like, we see all this new tech coming about, but it's still, in terms of like people's mobility, people's ability to get around, to get to the places they need to get to get their procedures or to get their equipment, or additionally with their infrastructure for housing. It's like that seems to me anyway, that seems to get left behind a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So in these developing countries, one of the most interesting things is the penetration of tech, and I'll talk more about the South Asian market because that is what I know best.
Yeah,
is incredible, and it was unknown until TikTok came around, and it is so interesting to say that nobody knew the ability of how deep this technology had penetrated until TikTok came. Wow. And it's like there are 160 million people in Pakistan that have access to a smartphone and to 3G and 4G technology. And about 150 of them had TikTok installed.
Wow.
Imagine that. Those numbers tell you that if somebody has TikTok installed, they probably have a good enough camera, they probably have good enough internet speed, and they probably have a good enough microphone.
Yeah.
Now, you have this data, right? And the biggest challenge right now is and I think Jamaat also say this, who's a venture capital from Social Good. He says, we have all this technology and data now, the biggest challenge of our generation is making it more accessible, right? And now you have this data, which you know that the basic technology is available for these people. How do you make the other, which is